Welcome to On Your Side, the Home Edition. I'm Susan Campbell. On today's show, we're going to take you to a place where you can buy a home in a gated community next to a country club, all for $500,000. But first, if you're going to build your dream home, someone has to design it. So how do you work with an architect to make your dream a reality? I talked about that and got a tour of a dramatic architect-designed home in Scottsdale with agent Misha Renteria. Misha, thank you so much for having us to this absolutely incredible house. We have to go inside and check it out. Where are we?
We are actually in the Cactus corridor in Scottsdale.
And tell me a little bit about this house. This is a work of art, custom, incredible home that is just spectacular from the moment you walk in the front door.
So this is modern architecture done extremely well, high quality, built in 2009. It's 5,100 square feet in the main house and 1,000 square feet in a 2-bedroom guest house.
When you first walk in, you immediately notice that there are a lot of different textures. We have block, we have cement, we have windows all over the place, kind of inviting us outside. This is really an interesting piece of art.
It is. The poured-in-place concrete is really an exceptional building technique, super high quality. You have to think of this as like a gorgeous bunker, right? You've got poured-in-place concrete form throughout the entire home, and then block construction, and gorgeous picture windows throughout. They're all commercial glass and Fleetwood doors, just extremely high quality.
We have to keep walking through because there's just so much to see, and my eyes are just catching little pops of color here and there as we're walking through.
Yes.
Tell me about just the design that was so thoughtful.
Yes, so the architect, Amit Upadhye, he actually envisioned this structure as boulders connected through beams of light. Okay, so if you think about hiking out in the desert and you have these big giant boulders that create kind of a microclimate on the side that you don't get the sun, that's what this structure is really about. So you have one boulder here, you have this middle boulder, and you have the side boulder. And you'll see the little peaks of light in areas like this 3-sided skylight right here. That is the light in between the boulders. And then this is your microclimate created by all of that shade.
The whole house tells a story.
It does, it really does. The colors in the home are all derived from the plants around the property, from the prickly pear cactus in the front to the creosote out back. It's a really natural desert design with gorgeous modern architecture in the middle.
So that's why we see the bright green wall that maybe some people wouldn't think about putting in their homes. And it's a bright color.
Absolutely, and some agents would say, let's paint that white to get it sold, right? No, it all tells a story. Upstairs you have pink, here you have green, in the guest house you have yellow, and it's all derived from beautiful colors that actually our nature and our surroundings have.
We have to go take a look at this cozy sitting area. It just draws you in. Even though it is so bright, it feels so relaxing and cozy.
Well, one of the tricks of this architecture is creating that outdoor-indoor kind of conversation. So all of this budded glass, the big picture windows, and getting all of that light in every space is key to making this home feel full of life.
We have to do a little work sometimes when we're at home. There is an office right off of this main sitting area that makes it super easy to do work.
Yes.
Because at least if I'm gonna sit here at my desk, I have a really beautiful view while I'm doing it, right?
Yes, this is an ideal office space. So you're secluded from the family activity zone. There's actually a private entrance on this side as well in case you do client work. And you're really shielded again from the elements here with these big overhangs, setbacks, and concrete.
I love that somebody could walk in to my office without having to walk through my whole home. I could just have that private meeting here and then they get to go on their way too.
Right, and you even have a little powder bath right behind us.
So on our way up to the second floor, these steps are unlike any steps I've ever seen before.
I tell you, they're some of the prettiest steps and most ergonomic that I've been the pleasure to sell. They have a 6-inch rise and a 12-inch run, making them incredibly easy to move up. And again, that three-sided skylight, that's that crack in between the boulders, bringing light into the space, actually illuminates this entire wall on the spring solstice.
That's so interesting.
Yes. Light and timing and dates are a big part of this architecture as well.
So on certain days, this house looks totally different.
Absolutely, and only for a brief moment of time. So say you're at the kitchen and you're washing dishes and it just happens to be the right moment of the year, the whole wall will illuminate.
That's like magic.
It is. It's
but really still architecture.
Yes, yes. It's like an experience moving through, your space in special moments that only the owners get to experience.
That's so incredible. Let's move on to the primary. This space is wide open, really tall ceilings that are just beautiful and relaxing again.
Yes, so one of the elements of this architecture, the owners originally thought they built just a single-story home, but getting the second story gives you incredible views of the McDowell Mountains.
Those mountain views are really spectacular.
They are, and around here, these are all old horse properties, so you really get that old Arizona feel, as well as gorgeous mountain views.
And it kind of makes you want to go for a swim when you look in your backyard.
Especially on a hot day like today. Yeah, the beautiful pool, it's a really nice long lap pool with a wonderful water feature that brings in a lot of really ambient sound.
So right off the primary bedroom, we have 2 closets, tons of space, and a really beautiful bathroom with tons of natural light.
The thing about this bathroom that's so lovely is the natural light coming in here. You really don't need light to put on makeup or get ready. It just has a beautiful glow all day. And again, with those bands of light in between the boulders, that kind of sense that the architecture even speaks in spaces like this.
Can you tell me why we have a ladder in the bathroom?
This is a really special little feature. It was added after the initial architect plans were done, and they realized they had a space up top that was over 8 feet tall, great for a meditation space, yoga, storage, not included in square footage, but just a really cool addition.
One of the things I love about this house is just how beautiful the flooring is.
It is, yeah. Downstairs you have that really beautiful polished concrete, and then the material up here is bamboo, a really nice, sustainable material and really soft.
Passing a couple bedrooms.
Yes, 2 bedrooms with 2 ensuite bathrooms. They're both they're kids' rooms right now, but they're fabulous spaces if you need additional office, if you need a studio. They've got gorgeous light, and each with their own ensuite bathroom.
And we're sticking with the same theme that's running throughout, where there's some block material used in some of them and tons of natural light.
The light is what it's all about, and then of course the exposure of some of the materials that you'll find throughout the house.
We have to keep going. Another sitting area.
Yes.
This looks like homework space if you've got kids.
This was envisioned as a library space, and it has the most incredible views of the McDowells. And then this piece of walnut cabinetry extends all the way from the kitchen to the second floor. So the space is really speaking to each other. This is a wonderful space that you could have a library, a den, an office, really anything flexible.
Even more to see. We continue down this long, really wide, spacious hallway.
Yes, so this is another kind of flex space that you could close the door, and this could be like someone's own apartment over here if you needed it to be kind of a secluded guest space. It has a bedroom, an ensuite bathroom, and a large room that they're using as a gym right now that could also be a living room.
We got to see this gym. This is an incredible space, and again, the color.
Yes, the colors again brought in from the prickly pear cactus and when they bloom. It's just such a pretty color.
Perfect, and I'm sure you can see that right out the window.
Yes, when you pull up to the house, you can see this feature wall, which is really fun. And this beautiful patio out here is a really great, secluded kind of outdoor space with lots of cover.
I love how the sun is shaded, but you still feel the outside. You could use it almost all seasons, maybe not on the 112-degree day, but pretty much all the other days.
Think about a spring day doing yoga in the outdoors. Could be really incredible.
Sign me up. Yeah, that sounds amazing. We have to check out outside.
Of course.
This backyard is beautiful, and this backyard is huge.
It is huge. It's 1.15 acre parcel. These are old horse properties, and the lots over here are just really large. Tons of room to actually additional build, like a garage or maybe another structure out there. You have lots of envelope to work with.
And I can see soccer games in this backyard. If you have little kids, like, run around, this is so much fun.
I know a lot of people that are out there looking at lots to purchase, they'd be very envious of our flat lot here, because you can have big grassy areas, big areas for pool, lots of covered space. A flat lot is very easy to build on in terms of building.
Beautiful pool, and we have a fire feature out here too, just to kind of continue that indoor, outdoor, cozy space.
Absolutely, yes. So this is a really special kind of zone to come and hang out, enjoy the smell of the creosote out here, have your fire going. All of these little glass blocks along the side of the pool and on the house also are lights, and they glow at night. So it's a really pretty space to spend your evenings.
Maybe the most important question, what is the price point for this house?
It is a deal. $4,775,000, 6,100 square feet total on 1.15 acre with a 5-car garage.
I'm not gonna let you off the hook that easy. You said deal.
Yes.
You have some reasoning, some justification for calling this a deal.
In this area, to buy a lot and scrape it is $2 million. So then you think about getting the lot, doing the scraping, employing the architect, getting through the process. 4.775 million doesn't sound so bad.
It's a deal.
When we come back, how do you work with an architect to bring your vision to life?
Misha, thank you so much for having us. We're sitting in really a work of art right now. This is not just a home, and we know there are properties like this all over the valley where there's a unique touch or some architect's dream, a family's dream. Tell me about just special architecture here in the valley.
Well, I mean, every time you think about special pieces of architecture, you're really thinking about, like you said, a work of art. You're working with a true artist that has honed their craft over decades of experience, trial and error, maybe being an apprentice for somebody else, maybe doing commercial spaces, working on tile in a bathroom, 2 decades later being able to create spaces like this. So they are very, very special, very coveted properties in the valley, and there aren't that many of them.
When you're talking about the idea of a dream, this custom home that is only for you, I know there are so many families that would love nothing more than to have this vision come to life. We want to help them get there and want to talk through the process of actually working with an architect, working with the team to make it happen. What is the very first piece of the puzzle?
Well, the first piece of the puzzle is figuring out what style of architecture that you like, what speaks to you. Because these are works of art, not every piece of art speaks to every person, and everybody that is an architect has a specialty. So really doing your research and finding an architect that their vision, their works speak to you is really the place I would start.
So we're kind of talking maybe modern or traditional or Southwest, like anything like that, we can find somebody to work with.
Correct. There are architects that specialize in all sorts of styles, and there are architects that specialize in many styles.
Okay, so once we found the architect, how long does this whole process actually take?
Oh gosh, that's where you're not going to like me anymore. But it can take years. From the initial visit with, let's say you finally narrow it down to an architect, you really like their style of work, you like their process, they speak your language, you speak theirs. From getting to that point all the way through finished construction, at least 3 years. Okay, so sometimes these projects are taking 4 or 5 years because the planning phase in itself is really just a year of back and forth, space planning, site visits, dealing with the elements. There's so much that goes into planning the space, and the many iterations that you go through to make it right for you and your family or your needs can take a long time.
Talk to me about the space planning, because I think there are probably some people who are already sitting on a piece of land, or they have an existing house and they want to build something different on that same piece of land. And then there are other people that are going out and finding the piece of property where the dream is going to become a reality. How do you do that planning? What are you looking for in that process?
Well, that's another personal kind of aspect. And you may, a couple things. You might work with your architect that already knows about certain lots that are really great for building or building their style of architecture. You may be a family like this family that lived in the single family ranch, older 70s home on this lot before they built their dream. So it really just depends on where you see yourself in this dream home, where in the valley that is. If you love where you live right now, you could always start from scratch again, as long as the site accommodates what you are looking for in terms of architecture.
Lots of permitting along the way. What's a permitting process like for working with these architects and the families and the builders? There's a lot of different pieces and parts.
What's nice is when you do have a professional employed, an architect firm, a builder, they're doing this permitting process for you, right? So you're not going down to the city and trying to, get zoning variances. But the process of it, once you have reached your final plan, is for them to go down and meet with the committee to design the space and get your permits. So that can take anywhere, in the city of Phoenix, 6 months. City of Scottsdale is actually pretty friendly and quick. Thank you, City of Scottsdale. It can be 2 to 3 months. So there is time involved.
When you're getting through this process and trying to choose somebody, besides looking for the style, how do you make sure you're going with somebody who's going to be reputable, going to get the job done, stick to the contract that you've drawn up? Because the timeline is a huge factor.
I think going to past clients is really key, and a lot of really great architects are going to refer you to their past clients so that you can ask those tough questions that may be hard for an artist to answer. So definitely personal referrals, making sure that you're doing your homework.
Do buyers pay a premium if they buy certain architectural gems once the house maybe lands back on the market?
Yes, they can. It really depends on the architectural pedigree. So if it's a really well-known name, you're going to probably pay a premium over, the rest of the neighborhood that's not of that architecture. So yes and no. If it's an architect that may be up and coming, or it might be one of their first couple of projects, it really is going to depend on the materiality used. So are you, like this house, poured in place concrete and block, or are you stick frame stucco? So the quality really comes into play there. But generally speaking, custom homes are going to fetch a higher price per square foot.
Who are some of the notable architects who actually have gems in the valley that would be like showstoppers?
Well, if we go and look at the past, we have our favorites, Ralph Haver for, tract homes, but also really amazing commercial buildings. Al Beadle for the same, tract homes, mostly commercial buildings. And then you have modern day architects like Jack Black here in the valley, Amit Upadhye, who did this project here and is doing various projects through Paradise Valley. There's lots of different amazing architects out there.
What's the cost associated with working with someone like that? It is not just the building materials. You are paying for their expertise. How much of a percentage of the project should we expect?
That's a hard one to nail down because everybody's fees are going to be so different and really depending on their experience and also, the demand of their work. So I would say budget yourself, for a project of this size, you're probably looking at $1 million worth of plans. But if you're looking at a remodel with an architect, you're probably looking at maybe $100,000 worth of plans. And it all depends on the size of the home and the size of the project as well. So it's so hard to nail down a specific percentage of what these things might cost, but you are definitely paying a premium as the person building as well.
When I'm making these decisions, should I be thinking about me and my family right now, or should I be thinking about resale too?
That's a tough one, but my advice to everyone is always think of you now. Okay, you need to be happy. Your timing in your life is important to be happy in the home that you're building. Now, there's a little voice back there telling you, be aware of what you're doing for resale, okay? Because we don't want to go way out on a limb. But I think times are kind of changing with stuff like that. I think people are really loving personal spaces. I think they're liking individual looking decor. So I tend to tell people to stay away from generic and don't make everybody happy, make you happy.
On a smaller scale, if we're not talking about these big grand homes, is there a place to work with an architect on a smaller scale? Like, does it make sense to work with an architect for a $500,000 or $750,000 budget?
Absolutely. I have friends that work with architects for small studio spaces in their backyards, for guest homes. If you want something to have a real voice in your space and an artistic imprint on your property, I think you can go super small and employ them in such a manner.
Last final question, maybe most important, what is the biggest pitfall to avoid if you are working with an architect?
Trying to hold back your narrative and letting your architect develop their narrative for you and how they see it. You're employing an artist, right? And we wouldn't ask an artist to paint exactly how we would paint if they were a painter. So it's much the same. Working with an artist, you want to let them really show their vision and make small adjustments that you see fit. But when you're employing an architect for a big custom home, let their vision guide you and make small changes. Their vision is the most important, to be honest, and also space planning is where you kind of lend your hand.
Misha, thank you so much for your expertise. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
It's a master plan community with tons of amenities for families. You may be surprised what $500,000 can get you in Anthem. The median price for a home in Maricopa County is right around $500,000. So what do you get for $500,000? In Anthem, you can get a single-family home on a cul-de-sac within the Anthem Country Club.
So this home is just over 1,600 square feet. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Kimberly Hariza is the listing agent for the home. It was built in 2003 and has been renovated throughout.
So this house has been completely upgraded. They have shutters, they redid the kitchen here with quartz countertops. So it's really modern, great for a buyer that wants something updated and low maintenance. Backyard has been completely done with turf and above ground hot tub if you do want that private hot tub feel.
One of the biggest selling points, it's an Anthem, a master planned community about 45 minutes north of downtown Phoenix.
People fall in love with Anthem because it's known for its lifestyle. There's so many different amenities, a really good sense of community, and great mountain views.
The listing price, $499,000. The HOA fees are $500 a month, but you'd get a lot for that money.
Here we're inside the club, so it's a private gated golf community. It's guard gated, and then they have its own set of amenities. So you have golf, pickleball, tennis, gym and fitness center, a community center, restaurant, bar, the list goes on and on.
And the home is move-in ready, either for a family or snowbirds looking for an easy second home in Arizona.
This home is perfectly turnkey, ready for someone to buy it. It would also make a great lock and leave property for someone.
Thanks for watching The Home Edition. Every week we bring you the very best of the Arizona real estate market and show you homes you have to see to believe. I'm Susan Campbell.